Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole Sony and Helldivers situation, because there's something that has been rubbing me the wrong way ever since Sony walked back their decisions, which I was very surprised that actually happened. I am very surprised and I am glad that it happened. But I've seen a lot of people patting themselves on the back. Patting themselves on the back and thinking and saying that, like, oh, we won. This is a victory for the common people, for the gamers even, if you will. And I think that is somewhat detached from the truth. I don't think that in any of these situations there is a true victory whenever a lot of these companies are involved, right? I've been following game news since the time that Bethesda tried to sell that, like, what was it, like $15 horse armor thing for Oblivion? And I remember the outcry back in the day, and that didn't change. It not only didn't change, it only became worse. Selling mounts is 100% the main revenue influx for WoW as a game. We all now have loot boxes, we all now have gacha. Gacha games are probably the biggest gaming market in our current time. And I think that what is going to happen, and what started happening already, is that Sony has slowly started to take off their other titles that are not available to use without a Sony account, so that people start getting used to the idea of these are the places in which you cannot buy any product made by Sony. And sure, like, a company apologist might be like, oh, it's their business, they can do whatever they want, they can sell wherever they want, they can choose whenever they do business and wherever they don't. And you know what? I think that you would be correct to say that. I think that you would be correct in saying that it is their business and they can do whatever they want. The thing that I have a problem with is that they are actively changing the terms of engagement with a lot of these platforms, right? They are pulling out the games from Steam, from regions that were previously acquirable, because they want to further down the line have every game that is released only be usable with a Sony account. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that scene in The Empire Strikes Back where Darth Vader tells Lando that he was changing the deal and that he had to pray so that he didn't change the deal any further. That is Sony right now. And not only Sony, but most of the companies that are dealing with electronic goods are engaging in behaviors like this. If you want to get a more well-rounded coverage of all the things that these companies think that they can get away with, you can get to Louis Rossmann's channel. He's been an advocate for the right to repair for a very, very long time, and he does a very good job at it. And this whole situation just makes me... please indulge me in being the meme of the no fun allowed robot. Because a part of me, whenever people started to celebrate that Sony backed out of their previous stance, it just made me think that it was an empty victory. I feel that to an extent something more needs to happen other than, oh, they backed off the game, democracy won, liberty won. Like, they're fun memes and all. But I feel like both Sony and Arrowhead need to learn a lesson from these. And not only them, but I think that every company that is about to make what they tried to do, what they attempted to do, which is to change the terms of agreement of any piece of software, need to understand that this is not something that will fly. I think, and again, I'm the no fun allowed guy, I don't think that people should have gotten back and bought the game back after they reverted the change. I think that the game should have stayed review bombed. I think the game should have, after being such a massive, successful hit, I feel like they should have flopped. I feel like the game should have flopped. I feel like the people that were in charge of making these decisions should be kicked out of the company so that they don't jeopardize everyone else's job again in the way that they did. Because that is what they did. For a second there, if Sony hadn't backed out, a lot of people at Arrowhead would have had to be let go because the game didn't perform to the standards that they thought it would. I mean, just look at what happened over at Microsoft. No notice, out of the blue, not even writing the name of the studios right. A lot of people lost their jobs in the blink of an eye. And maybe the situation with Arrowhead is different because Arrowhead is not actually a subsidiary of Sony and Sony's only the publisher for the game. But the people that made the decision to have a grace period in their game were essentially toying with their employees' job. And ultimately, the fault falls on Sony. They used Arrowhead as an scapegoat in what they thought was some sort of genius checkmate, but ended up being just a fluke. Which leads me to what has been bugging me for a while after all this situation is somewhat finished, somewhat cleared. I think the dust has mostly settled. I think that for the time being, not only Arrowhead but Helldivers are both safe from this kind of intervention. We all know that every future Sony title is gonna be locked to a Sony account. Now, I cannot advocate for ways to get Sony games if you live in one of the areas that Sony doesn't allow you to play their games. But I think that people shouldn't have flooded back the Helldivers 2 in the way that they did. And I think that what makes me struggle about that in my mind is the fact that if that were to happen, if people hadn't flooded back to the game, the people that would bear the brunt of that decision would be the workers at Arrowhead. And as much as I would want the entire industry, not only on the producer side, but on the consumer side, to learn a lesson about this, I don't think I am comfortable with the amount of collateral that these kind of lessons bring with them. I think that we need to change fundamentally the way in which games are produced. I think that we need to change the way that games are distributed so that they are not locked on to these vicious cycles of release a game, have the studio gets fired, and then they have to go look for something else, or release a game that is unfinished, or that it's tied to an account from a closed vendor. We need to change to an industry that is both product first and worker first. We need to get an industry that appreciates the people behind these games. We need an industry that has confidence in the products that it develops and that it delivers. Because that is not something that we see. Because right now what we have is an industry that is so afraid of delivering something that people can be proud of, that whenever something rises to the top, like the cream of the crop, all we get is a company pulling their strings and making sure, or attempting to make sure, to lock it down onto their environment so that they can impress the board of directors. So that's it for me for this video. I wanted to do something off the top of my head, get these truths out of my heart, but I want to know what you think about this. That is what the comment section is for. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm both right and wrong? That is a valid option too. I sincerely appreciate you giving time out of your day to listen to my ramblings. If you liked the video, do the hit the like button. If you want to watch more videos in the future, you can hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. And if you want to see me live stream, I try to stream almost every day of the week, at least twice a day during the weekdays. You can go look me up at twitch.tv/laserwolf0, and we can chat in real time over there. That is me signing off. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.